What is the Cynefin Framework? Well, this is a contingency model applied to decision making. And it basically posits that the individual must be able to recognize and adapt to context and ultimately prepare the organization to react or respond to those contexts for any given situation or decision making scenario. Now, of those contexts, there are generally 5 categories. The first is a simple category where there's a simple identifiable cause and effect relationship between any decision and outcome. In a scenario like that, you'd follow a decision-making model that is you sense the situation at hand, you categorize the options, and then you respond accordingly. A complicated approach, there is a causal relationship, but it's not really apparent to others, probably only apparent to professionals that you might bring into the organization. So an appropriate course of action in that scenario might be to sense the situation, analyze it to understand it better, and then respond before when taking action. A complex scenario is when it's difficult to identify any causal relationship between the decision and the effect or the outcome. In that scenario, you simply have to try things. You have to probe, sense what's going on or happening as a result of what you're doing, then take appropriate action based upon what you determine. A chaotic context is when there's simply turbulence and crisis. And in that scenario, there's very little time to probe the scenario. You generally have to act based upon your prior experience and common understanding, or you may need to take a truly novel approach to the scenario immediately, then sense how that affects the situation, and then make any changes and adjustments in how you respond to the situation based on what you learn from that. And then there's disorder, and disorder is simply where you don't know what context you're facing at all. It's not readily apparent from the situation, and in that scenario you simply have to apply any of the other 4 models, or in sequence or in any order, to try to determine what is the appropriate course of action and decision-making model to take. So as you can see, you're employing, or the Cynefin Framework employs, a contingency-based approach to decision-making whereby you follow a model of decision-making based upon the context that you encounter.